All through this period of boyish play, Narendra retained his admiration of life of wandering monks. All through this period of boyish play, Narendra retained his admiration for the life of wandering monk. Pointing to certain line on the palm of his hand, he would say to his friends, I shall certainly become sannyasin. A palmist has predicted it. As Narendra grew into adolescence, his temperament showed a marked change. As Narendra grew into adolescence, his temperament showed a marked change. He became keen about intellectual matters and read serious books on history and literature, devoured newspapers and attended public meetings. Music was his first pastime. He insisted that it should express a lofty idea and arouse the feelings of musician. At the age of 15, he experienced his first spiritual ecstasy. At the age of 15, he experienced his first spiritual ecstasy. The family was journeying to Raipur in the central province, and the part of the trip had to be made in a bullock cart. On the particular day, the air was crisp and clear. The tree and creepers were covered with the green leaves and many colors blossoms. Birds of the brilliant plumage warbled in the woods. The cart was moving along the narrow pass. The cart was moving along the narrow pass where the lofty peaks rising on the two sides almost touched each other. Narendra's eyes spied a large beehive in the cleft of a giant cliff, and suddenly his mind was filled with awe and reverence for the divine providence. He lost outer consciousness and lay thus in the cart for a long time. Even after returning to the sense perceived world, he radiated the joy. Another interesting phenomenon may be mentioned here, for it was one experienced by Narendranath. Another interesting mental phenomenon may be mentioned here, for it was one of the experienced by Narendranath. From boyhood, on the first beholding certain people, from the boyhood on the first beholding certain people or places, he would feel that he had known them before. But how long before he could never remember. But how long before he could never remember. One day he and some of his companions were in the room in the friend's house where they were discussing various topics. Something was mentioned, and Narendra felt at the once that he had on the previous occasions talked about same subject with the same friends in that very house. He even correctly described every nook and corner of the building which he had not seen before. He tried first to explain this singular phenomenon by doctrine of reincarnation. He tried to first he tried at first to explain this singular phenomenon by the doctrine of reincarnation, thinking that perhaps he had lived in that house in previous life. But he dismissed the idea as improbable. But he dismissed the idea as improbable. Later, he concluded that before his birth, he must have had previsions of the people, places, and events. Later, he concluded that before his birth, he must have had previsions of people, places, and events that he was to experience in this present incarnation. That was why he thought he could recognize them as soon as they presented themselves to him. At Raipur, Narendra was encouraged by his father to meet notable scholars and discuss with them various intellectual topics, usually considered too abstruse for the boys of his age. On such occasions, he exhibited great mental power. From his father, Narendra had learnt the art of grasping the essential things, the art of grasping the essential of things, seeing truth from the widest and most comprehensive standpoints, and holding the real issue under discussion.